Welcome to Backstage Money, real world finance for musicians. I'm your host, Jason K. Powers, and this is where music and money collide with honest stories and practical lessons from people who make it work. So let's get to it. Today, I'm joined by Chris Fletcher, founder of Music Biz Mentors and longtime artist development coach. Chris has worked in artist development since 1989 through her company Coast to Coast Music, helping independent artists book tours, land college and festival performances, and secure sponsorships and grants to fund their projects. It's quite a bit of things. Since 2001, she's taught in the music business program at Musicians Institute, where she develops and teaches multiple courses, including getting gigs, personal management, making money as a musician. And she's also created musicbizmentors.com, where she hosts webinars, panels, and coaching programs to help DIY artists build sustainable careers. Chris currently works with several independent artists and continues teaching musicians how to turn their skills into real income. Chris, welcome to the show.
Oh, good. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. It was great to meet you a little while back and hear kind of all the different things that you're up to, and it's been fun just talking with you. I was like, oh, this is a person I got to have on the show. Everyone's going to enjoy this, So I always like to start with, I say, origin stories. How did you get into this? How did you
Well,
come from whatever to the idea of, I think this is what I'm going to do as a career, and
yeah.
be at it so long now.
So I started when I was 20, and I just started going to see bands. And one of the biggest deals is that if I liked the band, I had a caravan of people that would follow me. And so I guess it was an influencer back then, but we didn't call it then. So I was crazy about live music. I would drive 4 hours to see a band, see them for an hour, drive 5 hours home, and then I go to work the next day. So there
Yeah.
are crazy fans like me out there.
Right.
And so I still to this day, I sit, if I go and I'm helping out with a show or something, you'll find me behind the merch table. That's where it all started, is this merch table. And so it was all cover bands. It was in Philadelphia and New Jersey. That's where a lot of the music was. And then little by little, I just started helping them out more. I'm always, doing the email list and the mailing list in the olden days and stuff like that. And then I was working with one band that broke up into three. And then all of a sudden I'm managing three bands by the time I'm 24. Again, no internet, no books except the Passman book, which is boring as can be, we still have. And I never picked it. I felt like it picked me. I went to business school. I worked for the post office during the day and I did this stuff at night. And then, 1989 or 88, I said, I'm not going to be here anymore. There's too much snow. You know how sometimes with music, it gets like really great with all the live places to play at, and then all of a sudden there's nothing there anymore. They all closed down. So that's kind of what was happening at that time. All my friends were getting married, getting a house, and I'm like, no, that's not for
Right.
me. So I came out. I came out here in '88, just on a whim with my niece, and I said, I was here for a week and I'm like, I should have been here all along. What's wrong with me? This is where the
Mhm.
industry is. I need to be here. So I took a year and took my retirement from the post office, which was about $10,000, and I came out here, got my own place, and started just putting my name in to get jobs. And I did temp jobs and started working with bands and all that kind of stuff. And that's really how it started. I didn't mean to go towards that career. It just happened automatically for me.
Just sort of came to be. I hear
Yeah.
that with a lot of people. You kind of, there comes a time where you make that leap, if
Yeah.
you will. There's a definitive left hand turn, if you will, where you start making those choices and make the move.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, head out to LA, head out to Nashville, and dive in head first, right?
Yeah. And again, that was before the internet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you have to be I feel like I'm creative in that way, where even now, you go on the internet, there's just so much stuff. Like, I'm not getting my answer. I have no problem picking up a phone,
hmm
or I actually worked in a library all through school and stuff like that. I like the research kind of thing. And so it doesn't necessarily, I mean, I'm never afraid to call somebody and say, "Hey, do you know this? Do you know somebody that can help me with this?"
Yeah.
And that's the best way still to be, because people don't have secretaries anymore. You can just call and ask for them and they're like, "Hello," and you're like, "Oh." So you have to,
Oh, they actually
do
answered.
that kind of stuff. So I never had, I'm not, worst they could say is say, "No, go, I don't want to talk to you," that kind of stuff. So
Yes.
I've always been okay to just speak to people, and never be afraid to say that I don't know somebody, because
Mhm.
there are people like that, I've known from school, and they're pretty well-known teachers in their craft and stuff. And they'll go, "Do you know this person?" I'm like, "No." They go, "You don't?"
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, let me introduce you, kind of stuff. So I've never been afraid, because you'll say you'll know it, and you'll walk in the door, and the person will be there. You didn't even know who they are. And so I'm never afraid to like, to just, I'm always learning. You can't know
Mhm.
everybody, that kind
Mhm.
of stuff.
Yeah.
So I just started, working with bands. And, with my first job out, my first not non-paid job, we called it helping somebody out, not interning,
Yeah.
was with a woman by the name of Deb Rosner, who founded Poison.
Okay.
And she did publicity and promotion. And there was a friend out here that I met from back east, and his girlfriend knew her. And I just started going in twice a week, and she was doing publicity and promotion for small bands, and we call them baby bands because they weren't signed yet, and some sign bands. And I wanted to know how it worked here, because East Coast is different than West Coast. I think you go on the radio, you can get on the radio East Coast, you can't do that here. So it was a whole different ballgame. It was really concentrating on press here. And so I was never afraid to talk to anybody. And I was helping her out for 3 months, and then she got a big job, and I took her baby bands on.
Yeah.
So that, and then that was doing publicity, but then it ran back into management again, because I got all involved and all
Mhm.
that stuff.
Mhm.
So that's the real beginning story, all that kind of stuff.
That's great. So you really, I mean, got started. Let's spin off of maybe this baby bands kind of comment. These bands who are starting out, trying to trudge forward and make it and get known, and you kind of spun off of that. It sounds like when you got into the education side a little
Yeah.
bit, right? And when I think there's a lot of value in this. More musicians need to know how
Right.
to make a buck, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was because when you work with the beginning band, they have no money. They have no money. Even for a $30 rehearsal kind of thing. So I used to say, "Okay, we're going to get some merch together. I'm going to find some gigs. You're going to get paid. And for the first year, any money that we make gets put into a pot. You don't take any of it." So every week, I'm not saying you're paying for rehearsals. We have to go and record. Everybody's got to pitch in $100, all that kind of stuff. And so they agree. They had to agree. And actually, I didn't take any money either. So
Mhm.
I had to really believe that it was going to happen, to be, so we would have some money to do something, because I'm not here to fund them.
Yeah.
I don't know who they think is going to pay my bills. Yeah. That kind
Yes.
of stuff. And I think really that's where the teaching kind of came in. Kenny Kerner, who ran the music business department, he actually also worked at Music Connection. So when I was trying to get publicity, we struck up a friendship. And then he said, "I'm teaching this class over at Music Institute. It's the only business class. It's called Music Business Basics. And would you come in and tell people what you do?" And I went, "Okay." So I came in, I was telling him what I was doing, booking and doing that kind of stuff. And he goes, "Would you like to do a course?"
Mhm.
I said, "What does that mean?" He said, like, 2 hours, 10 weeks. I'm like, "Oh God, I don't know if I had that much material." Right. And so I went home and I figured out, I was like, "Oh, I guess I do."
Uh,
So, and there was no music business department yet. And so 2 years later, he finally developed a music business department. And then he said, "What else do you want to teach?" I'm like,
yeah.
"I can teach touring."
Mhm.
And so I kind of got really good at writing up the lesson plans and all that kind of stuff. And so then little by little, And I also was he also asked me like 2 years in, it was like 2006, I think it was. He said, he called me out of the blue going, "Hey Chris, we have this guy here that's doing the internship, and he's going to leave. I think you'd be really good at this." And I said, "Kenny Hollywood every day? I don't know." That right. He goes, "You'd have your own office, and there's only 20 students for right now, and then it's only 20 hours a week, and you can, do your band stuff." And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, I don't think so." I said, "I don't know." I said, "But I'll still teach my classes." He goes, "I don't know if I want a teacher to do that." I said, "Forget it, then ask somebody else." Right. So a
Mhm.
week later, he goes, "What would it take for you to do that?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Why?" He said,
I-
"Because I just interviewed 3 people that I won't let walk my dog."
Funny.
So for 6 years, I did the internship at school because we have a music business program that is a requirement that they do 120 hours with an internship company or else they do not graduate. So it was a one-to-one thing. So I was doing that. I really like was into I could call anybody at Sony or Universal and all that kind of stuff, but I was so busy I couldn't use the contacts,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. So, little by little, then I finally just I kind of gave it up. I've done that off and on. I started really 6 months after I was here. I answered an ad for a small record company,
Mhm.
and I was in the front office in charge of the inventory and all that kind of stuff. And 6 months later, the girl that was in charge, she left. Went right into her position. And I was still working with the bands. I'm still doing
Mhm.
that too. And so I was there for 7 years, and then I had enough to break off and and then the teaching started. And so you always have to, it's calling diversify
Yeah, that's right.
for musicians and for me, as an independent, whatever we're doing, we're always looking for work in the future,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And no matter, because anybody can quit on me. I've had people quit on me, and I learned early on I can feel that happening, kind of step back a little bit and go from there. But yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of success with some of the bands that I've worked with, including having like a major Budweiser sponsor and 18 equipment endorsements before we were signed, and publishing deals and a couple record deals here and there and stuff like that. But technically, a band doesn't stay together longer than 5 years.
Mhm. Interesting.
Usually, like they are kind of stuff. So you got to squeeze everything you can out of the 5 years to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm always looking. I have about 5 artists and bands that I watch all the time. They know who I am. And if somebody decides they're going to take a break, or they don't, or they don't want to do this anymore, I can go to them and say, "Hey, do you want to work with me?" And I don't think it would be, they jump at it because they're doing everything themselves, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's kind of how I work with any of
Yeah.
that stuff. I like the idea of going after using musician skills to do more than one job.
Yeah.
So I said it in class the other day because it was our last class, and then we have finals next week, so we're on a quarter basis. And I said, "Listen, it's about diversifying your skills. That's where it's going to be. Think about what happened when the pandemic hit.
Mhm.
You went on tour all the time. You can't do that anymore. What else can
Right.
you do? Can you do your videos? Can you record more music? Can you do stuff online?" It's always like that. And boy, the pandemic made us be more techie.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did
And
really
that's the
well.
truth. I mean, we really went. I watched a ton of uh, artists online all of a sudden that were, had really accelerated, let's say, the online presence, the videos, the day-to-day stuff, more day-to-day stuff, and what
Yeah.
it's like. And so I think that was helpful for a lot of artists who could um, jump on the opportunity, I guess,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stay engaged and stay relevant in that. And we'll talk about in a little bit kind of the promotional side, just a couple
Mhm.
ways you can stay maybe relevant in the promotional
Right.
side. And that's what reminds me of when you talk about diversification. It's
Mhm.
same in your own music business. It's diversification, and from a promotional standpoint, how many different things can you do
Right.
to promote yourself? I say, well, before an artist can grow, I think there's something to be said about as you put it when we were talking earlier about musicians need to take stock of their skills and experiences before trying to grow. And
Exactly.
I think, how do artists, how do musicians honestly evaluate, what level they're at?
Well, it starts with how many songs you have, how
Mhm.
many songs you have written, how many songs you have recorded. It That to me, the beginning is you're writing and recording your music. That's number one. If you don't have any music, I can't help you. I don't do that, that kind of stuff. I don't sing background. I don't do any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
You
And
gotta write
so
it
me,
songs.
it's pushing them to they got to keep writing anyway. But you got to have, and especially if you're just starting to write, every song isn't going to be great. And so even joining a songwriting group or something like that, I did that with I had a Brazilian artist I work with, and she was writing songs, but she wasn't finishing them. So I said, I know this group that gets together once a week. It's like $35 a session. And I know the woman who does the session. I want you to go. And she was like, oh, I said, you going? I need you to
Yeah.
go. I made the call. You're going, right? And I think she was just afraid she wasn't good enough.
Mhm.
And so she went and she came back. She said, they loved my songs.
I
But what she needed was a deadline because she used to be in school and there used to be a deadline. This has to be done by this time. This has to be done by this time, that kind of stuff. And she needed the deadline. She wasn't able to do the deadline herself in the songwriting, but so the group helped her do that with herself, that kind of stuff. And so it really has to do that. That's what it starts with more than anything else. And while you're writing and doing all that kind of stuff, you kind of get to know what kind of artist you are. I always say, and actually she one day texted me, what's my music mission? And I'm like, oh, she's looking at something about marketing. That's cool. And I'm like, what is your music mission? I can't text that to you. Let's talk about it now. What are your songs saying to the world? What are you trying to say to the world? It's, what are you trying to portray? Who do you want to listen to it? Not just ages, but what do they do? You know,
Mhm.
where do they go to listen to music? That kind of stuff. So instead of going back to, well, it's between the ages of 15 to 25, well, what do the 15 to 25-year-olds do? What do they do when they listen to music? How do they do that kind of stuff? And so that's why I mean, before the when Tower Records closed, I knew everything would change because there was nowhere for people to go to listen to music or to buy it.
Mm.
And so before that, I was doing indie before it was called indie. We were recording our own songs. We were going after paid gigs. And we were making our own merch and we were doing it all ourselves. And so when the indie started happening, they're like, go talk to Chris Fletcher
Yeah.
because she's booking college and people are like, how are you going on the road and getting paid? I said, people don't, if you go to a small town, like we went to Ramona, California here, it's like, I don't know, a half hour from San Diego. There's nothing in that town. So if there's a concert, everybody goes. And so they have money to do that. They have 35, I mean, years ago, $35 for a ticket kind of stuff. And then
Yeah.
they treat you so well. And they don't even care what kind of music it is. They're like, wow, it's
Yeah.
music. So
Yeah.
I've always done that. And then I found too, my friend told me one time when I was just starting this, they go, your music, the music for you that you're doing right now with your bands would be great at colleges. Colleges book gigs and you get paid for it. And I'm like, what? And
Yeah.
then I started finding out how to do that kind of stuff. And so you can go anywhere in the United States, and a college is doing a noontime concert and paying you $500 to $1,000 to sing for the lunch hour kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I've been doing that for a long time. And there's so many opportunities that people don't think when you're performing. The thing, we celebrate everything here in California. We have food festivals, avocado. We celebrate everything: avocado, oranges, you name it. And then there's a stage, the kind of
So
thing, and
the
they're always
festival
looking for
of
music,
everything.
and they have sponsors. So if you go and look at any kind of website with a venue, if there's a sponsorship button, it means they have money to pay you.
Mhm.
So that's that's where the money is. Because kind of started
Oh,
putting that stuff together.
yeah. So they, artists want to start out. I mean, taking stock of their skills and experiences. Obviously, start out. You got to have music. You got to have something to demonstrate. What mistakes maybe do you see artists make when they kind of misjudge their level? Um,
I think a girl came up to me after class the other day and she said, "So, can I have a question?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "So, I'm a perfectionist. So, I haven't really released any of my music yet." I said, "Girl, let that go." I
mm,
said, "You are never going to be happy. You'll be happy for a second, but then you go, oh, I can add this, right?" And I said, the everyday person does not know that you added a sax player or extra voice in it. I'm an everyday person. I'm in the industry so I can hear it, and a musician can hear it, but the everyday person does not know that. So I said
mhm,
to a couple of your friends, people who like what you do, and if they say, sounds good to me, then put it up there.
yeah,
Putting it out there, right?
right.
I said, because it's going to change. As whatever you have in recording, when you start performing it, it's going to change. And so you don't, every time it changes, you don't record it again. You got to keep growing into that kind of stuff. So,
Mhm,
that's the biggest thing. When I saw somebody, oh, we've been recording our 3 songs for the past year. And I'm going, what? What are you talking about? A year? Like,
right.
no, let it go.
Yeah.
And, also just getting a little bit of your business together. I tell while you're writing songs, you can go to GoDaddy or domain name and get your domain name of your band or yourself, or you always get the .com. And I said, you can start a social media page, let people know you're doing music. You don't have to do anything major, just, let people know that
Yep.
kind of stuff.
I
Start
like I like how you said once. You said that business stops when you stop creating,
exactly.
and I think that's a great way to put it. Business stops when you stop creating. So let's talk about that idea. Like, what business habits, maybe no matter at what level, an
Yeah,
artist
I
can
mean,
have,
I say you can promote at any level.
yeah.
You have one song, you can promote it to the world. And somebody was complaining. Yes, I went to a webinar. I mean, a workshop at school yesterday, and people were talking. Well, how do I get money from streaming? And I'm sitting there going, you can't get money from streaming, not unless you hire somebody to help you with that stuff. But there's plenty of other ways to make money. But we have to do it. We have to do the new stuff. You That's how people find you.
Yeah.
So stop fighting it. We can't fight the new business that is happening. We just has to go with the flow, that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. And even to the point where if you have a song, if you don't know what metadata is, go to YouTube and say, how do I put metadata on my songs? Because it's a little square that pulls up and says who you are, how to find you, what the song is about. And if somebody in the industry, like from Bravo, listens to the song and wants to see it, they look to see if that information's on there. And if it's not, they move on. So there's a couple things that when people, you never know who's going to find the song. I had 2 students that came in to do my open counseling the other day, and they said, "We're in a band and we have some music out, and somebody found our song and wants to use it for their podcast and wants to pay us $3,000." And I said, "Okay." And they're like,
Like, yeah.
"Is that enough?" I said, "Well, what are you doing with the song now?" "Well, it's up on Spotify and Apple." I said, "That's it? Why would you question that? Take the money." It's
Yeah.
like, take the money.
Yeah.
Maybe you should be writing for more podcasts. I
Yeah.
don't know what you're writing about, kind of stuff. And so by putting the music out there, um, is where the opportunities come. You
Mhm.
just got to keep trying a little bit of everything. And I was like, social media, it keeps changing and stuff like that. So whether you're on
Every
TikTok
day.
or X or Facebook or whatever it is,
Every
and
day.
just be consistent.
Mhm.
And don't worry about, are people seeing it right this second? If I could get them to post twice a week, I would be so happy.
Yeah.
Right? And they're going, well, because the one girl graduated and she was saying, I'm going to post every day. And I'm like, we're going to post 3 times a day. And I said, please don't, no, don't start that. You will never do that. You
Mhm.
will never do that. You don't post once a week now. Please don't do that. Once a week. My artist Harold since the pandemic, we finally pushed him during the pandemic because he had to. He plays a lot, and so he started doing a 2-song Tuesday, and he still is doing it to this day. No matter where he is in the world, he comes on at 5:30, which is a weird time on Tuesday, right? And does a cover, an original, and he makes up a song on the spot. So people give me song titles, and I text it to him, and he picks one and he makes one up on the spot. So he's
That's
on for 20 minutes.
yeah.
So we have about 50 people listening live,
Hmm.
and by the next week, we have 1,500 to 2,000 people who view it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So now we need to monetize that,
Hmm.
right? Get their emails and send them stuff because these are real fans, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so it's from doing it once a week.
Yeah.
Just keep
Yeah.
doing it. And now we have all those videos. So we started putting those improv songs on our YouTube page too.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, you can take one piece of material and then cut it up and repurpose it multiple times over.
It's not that
Else,
hard.
year or a month or and yeah, it's that. I like that. I mean, it's creating consistency. I think in the diversification side also, it's building relationships. It's building a network. It's getting out there and not just being, here's me and my music, and let me push it in front of would-be fans. I think there's more to it than that, right?
Yeah.
I think it's
Well,
that maybe tunnel visioned, and yes, that's an end goal because without the fans, we're nothing, right? But I think it's promotional work in general. It's relationship building, right? With all aspects of the business.
right.
It's
And
networking
and
with the local music scene, right? It's collaborating with other artists. It's building a mailing list for your community, like you said, monetizing now what you're doing and
right.
capturing that information. So it's not just reactive marketing. I think for the
Right.
artists, it's not just push on social media, hope they hear it, and hope they go to a show or buy the music. It's let me capture their information, and now I can control how I want to market to them a little bit better.
And one still, and you can ask Google, but the email list is still the one way to get a hold of people.
Sure.
Remember, we almost lost TikTok last year.
Right.
So if you are on TikTok and that's all you're on, and any of them can come back and say, you know what, we're not going to be here anymore. Sorry. Or they can say, we're only going to do jazz music now. So you're
Yeah.
out of luck, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So one of the guys last year, I've known him for a while. He was said, I'm going to learn social media. I'm going to put out my new songs and, do my graphics and kind of do everything. So I said, do you have an email list here? Here people go, oh, she's so old school. And I said, you going to get an email list? And he goes, I got some people. And I said, what social media are you on? He says, I'm on Instagram. And I said, you're not going to like what I have to say to you. I said, but everybody that's on your Instagram, you need to send them a personal message that says, hi, it's William. I have new music coming out. I want to share it with you. Would you be willing to give me your email? And I said, and always ask for their zip code so you know where they are in the world, kind of thing. And
Mhm.
so he did it, and he got 300 emails.
Nice.
And so I saw him on social media. I saw him performing around and stuff. And so he sent a newsletter out, and he said, push this button to listen to my music and all that kind of stuff. And so I saw him. I went out to see him. I said, so how's it going? He goes, well, Chris, I spent a lot of money and time trying to figure out how to advertise and that kind of stuff. He said, but I don't get many like clicks from that stuff. But if I send a newsletter to those 300 people, 95% of the people will push the button.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I said, can you come into my group and say that? Because they don't believe me. It's still the number one. I don't want to bombard anybody with a lot of emails, that kind of stuff. But a newsletter once a month, if a show's coming up in their area, right close to the thing, that's cool, that kind of stuff. But it's still number one way to get a hold of people.
Yeah.
If I post, and there was a show that was coming up, and one of my artists was playing in it, and he was doing a lot of shows. So the girl was promoting her own show. And so she called me, she goes, Chris, I don't see your post up on Instagram. And I said, well, Instagram's not going to get my people there.
Yeah.
We have to send them personal messages. We have to text them. We have to let them know it's happening. We have to remind them. I said, but a spot on social media doesn't work for us. And
Mhm.
she was like, oh, I said, does it work for
Yeah.
you? And she was
Yeah.
like, well, I said, there's a reason why they call it Instagram. It doesn't stay up very long, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying we have to do all of it. If you want butts in the seats, that's what you have to do.
Yeah. Well, it's using different kinds of marketing for different purposes, maybe, right? It's the email, you're not going to be like, this is what we had for dinner tonight, you know. It's not going to be the short form content that is rolling out social. That's what social media is for, and that
Right.
keeps people ideally engaged. It attracts potentially new people, but it's that end game of capturing their information that's going to get you long term capabilities to market to those people, because you're going to market the shows, you're going to market the merch, you're going to market, you know, meet and greet opportunities, things like this. And I think it's so important. And
Yeah.
again, I agree with the sentiment that a lot of people think it's outdated to get an email list going, but because we get so much stinking email, I get so much stinking email, and I
Yeah.
can hardly get through it in a day. And but I'll tell you, the music ones, even if I'm half interested, I open them and look
Mhm.
at them at worst real quick, going to see, let's see if there's anything I want to know in here, you know. And I think it's important, and staying on
So,
top of it.
so yeah, so I mean, and I said I have like three levels. The first level is you're just writing songs. You're trying to put a little bit of your business together. If you can't put your website together, then go get a free Reverb Nation or Bandcamp so somebody can find you. That's the big deal. Just start working on that. This, believe it or not, to me, the intermittent level is that you put one or two EPs out, like 6 to 10 songs you've been out, you've been performing a little bit locally. That's intermediate to me.
Mm.
If advanced means that you've been going out on the road a little bit, making a little bit of money, that kind of stuff. So I think there's different levels but you really have to know where you are. And
Mhm.
so when I did a workshop and I told everybody, okay, if you're intermediate, this is what you need to do, and this is what you can do to advance. If you're advanced and you wanted to get more, this is kind of what you need to do. If you're by yourself, it's okay. You just got to start with that music base more than anything else. And the other thing is, I always get people because I teach at school, and I always ask. Probably 3 weeks in, I'm going. So, is anybody having trouble getting everything done? They're like, yeah. And I'm
Right.
I said, okay, now you know your schedule. I want you to take out your calendar. I want you to put everything down that you can't change. If it's a dentist appointment, if you are rehearsing or whatever's going on. And I said, I bet you in your week you will find one or two spots where you don't know what you do for 2 hours. Like on Friday, what do I do from 3 to 5? Or Sunday morning, I get up at 7, but I don't really do anything till noon. So I said, if you can at least take one of those spots, a 2 hour spot once a week, and don't give it away so you can write your songs, so you can do your business, you will get a lot done in a month. And
Right.
don't give it away. Make sure that you're just, whatever that is to push your career forward. Don't give it away. It's
Yeah.
so important and you will get things done.
Yeah.
I feel like I can get a lot done. I have a friend by the name of Deb Rosner who's a musician. I have never seen anybody do so many things that she has done. I'm like, you got to give me lessons because I have never seen anybody wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go exercise and then write a new book and then go perform. And I'm like, girl, I'm not sure how you do
Uh-huh.
things.
Uh-huh.
Plus, she has a family.
Well, there's something to be said though about that consistency. I think most people, if you are consistent about anything, if it's okay, I've got to send 300 emails. I got to send 300. We'll use this social media example you gave. I've got to message 1,000 followers on Instagram. That is an overwhelming task.
Oh,
And
yes.
then you just freeze. You're like, it's too much. I can't do it. Well, if you just said, I'm going to message 5 a day. Can you handle 5 a day?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just do it. And before long, you'll look back and go, oh wow, look how far I came. So that's just one thing. If it's like, I need to make one good contact this week in the business that will help me in my career, just one a week.
Right.
That's a very manageable goal.
And
I
you could do that on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You don't even have to leave your house.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. But then I think those consistent steps are what propels people forward. And you'll look back a year from now and go, oh, wow, I never thought. But I think people bite off too much at the beginning and go, a
They
thousand
do.
messages. There's no stinking way I'm going to do 1,000 messages. You go, well, you could if you start now.
Yeah,
It's
I
that
think they
old, how do we grow this big tree in our business? How do we grow this big, huge tree? And people are always, we use it in the finance business, talking about growing your wealth. People
Mhm.
talk about, how do I build this big tree? I should have planted this tree 20 years ago.
Right,
And it's like that old proverb. Well, but you didn't. So when's the second best time to plant a tree?
right,
It's today. Today's the second best time to plant. But start now, start something, even if it's baby, baby, baby steps.
right.
And you'll never look back and go, I wish I would have waited longer.
The first step is the hardest. I
Yeah.
said the hardest is to start. The second hardest is to start again.